Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Delora, new week. What's going on, girl?
Hey, Ashley. I'm super excited. We're recapping one of my faves.
Yes, guys. In celebration of Halloween week that we have now entered, we are recapping throwback cult classic Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Delora, this film was released by Walt Disney Pictures back in July, actually. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Of 1993. This film grossed nearly $45 million worldwide, but it was not considered a critical or commercial success. It really became a cult classic through annual releases on Disney-owned outlets. And right now, guys, it is available to stream on Disney Plus. Runtime of a little over 90 minutes. Director, Kenny Ortega. FYI, kids, a sequel is finally in the works, okay?
Finally.
We've been waiting a very long time. There's been so much chatter about this from the talent, from all over the place, hoping this would happen. So written by Jen D'Angelo, directed by Ann Fletcher, set for a fall 2022 release as a Disney Plus original film. Very excited. All right, so the original Hocus Pocus, quick summary: a curious youngster moves to Salem where he struggles to fit in before awakening a trio of diabolical witches that were executed in the 17th century. Cast, Delora: Bette Midler as Winifred Sanderson.
The GOAT.
Fun fact that I learned while researching: this role was supposedly originally written for Cloris Leachman, R.I.P. Cloris Leachman, because you have seen her in this role. That.
No, Bette stole the show.
It's
so
iconic.
Ingrained.
Exactly. We have Sarah Jessica Parker playing Sarah Sanderson, which it never dawned on me as a kid that Sarah's playing Sarah. Never. Don't know where I've been.
The pretty one out of the bunch, though, right?
The pretty one. The seductive, and that's on multiple fronts, because she even is seductive in her alluring of children, which we'll get to. We have Kathy Najimy as Mary Sanderson, rounding out our trio of Sanderson sisters. We have Omri Katz as Max. Another fun fact: Leonardo DiCaprio was originally offered the lead role of Max, but declined it to pursue What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
That makes sense. Leo was out here in these streets in the 90s.
He said he was offered a crazy amount of money, though, and he does not know where he had the nerve to pass this up. He was just so strong in his desire to portray that character in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Obviously, did not hurt my guy's career whatsoever.
Not at all. It was the foundation to take him serious.
Exactly.
Right?
First Academy Award nomination. All right, we have Thora Birch, who I absolutely love, as Danny. We have Vanessa Shaw as Allison, and we have Sean Murray as Thackeray Banks. Reviews: Rotten Tomatoes, 38% critic score, 71% audience score, and 89% of Google users enjoy this film. Delora, give me your grade for our throwback Halloween film, Hocus Pocus.
Oh my gosh, Ashley, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory. Growing up, as I mentioned previously, church kid through and through. We didn't really do Halloween stuff. We obviously didn't see this movie in the theaters. However, Blockbuster had it available on VHS one weekend, and we rented it, and my sister and I watched it like 5 times before we had to return it. That's how much we loved it. So And it was like the one like Halloween movie that we were allowed to watch. So this movie gets a A+ for me.
All right.
It is childhood nostalgia. I am not going to beat this movie up. It still holds up pretty well, in my opinion, as well. So yeah. What about you, Ashley?
I would agree. Now, I'm not coming out that strong. It's a B for me. I still love me some Hocus Pocus. The nostalgia factor is comedic Halloween fun. Like you said, it really holds up. It gets a B though. It gets a B for me, which is still strong, guys. Don't be fooled. I still love some Hocus Pocus. All right. Spoiler alert for anybody who has somehow not seen Hocus Pocus at this point. We're about to get into the good of the film. All right, Delora. We start the film back in 17th century Salem, Massachusetts. The Sanderson sisters, Winifred, Sarah, and Mary, who are witches, lure a child to their cabin in the woods to suck the life out of her and regain their youth. As I mentioned about Sarah, she has this whole seductive song that she sings to lure children. Creepy AF. Right?
I loved it. I loved it.
I said, that's some Piper shit right there.
Yep.
Thackeray, a boy from the village, chases after and tries to rescue the little girl who is his little sister Emily, but to no avail. As punishment, they turn him into an immortal black cat, but they don't get to enjoy their youth for long because they did manage to kill little Emily before the villagers come for them and hang them. Too bad Winifred had one last spell from her one-eyed spell book up her sleeve in which a virgin can summon them back on All Hallows Eve. Delora, watching this as a kid growing up, did this intro frighten you at all?
Oh, it was really creepy. I mean, even as an adult, I'm like, oh, these are really dark themes here. You know what I mean? But I wasn't like scared. I don't think this movie ever frightened me, even as a child. I think I enjoyed the camp. I enjoyed the wit. So it didn't spook me out. But yeah, anytime you're dealing with, Salem during that time and witches, is always, something creepy about it,
Are you running into the woods to rescue your little sister? We just had your sister on the podcast last week. You running into the woods to get her?
Why wouldn't I?
Right answer.
Oldest too, so that means I would never live that down.
Exactly. If my brother's listening, Trey, you better come for me every single time. Okay. I have to agree with you though. I don't remember this ever being frightening to me. I think I was so much more like intrigued. I'm starting to wonder, like, was movies like this the beginning of like my fascination with the supernatural,
I always watch things with witches. Like, no matter how like my mom was so against everything, I love a good Charmed, especially with the remake. I love Witches, the actual, movie with the great Angelica Houston, stuff like Sleepy Hollow is one of my favorite Halloween movies to watch. The one starring Johnny Depp that came out in the late 90s or early 2000s. Amazing. It's something comforting about it too. It's like fall, Coco, Dark Nights.
I have never heard anybody say Sleepy Hollow is comforting, but I get your point though. I get your point. As we move into modern day for the film, 300 years later, after the Sanderson sisters have been killed, the story is being told as more of a folk tale to students in high school. So we meet Max, who's new to town from California, and he's a skeptic on all this nonsense, right? Besides crushing on his classmate Allison, he doesn't seem to be enjoying this move whatsoever, which as a kid, a teenager at that, I can imagine moving from sunny Los Angeles, California to Salem, Massachusetts was a bit of a difference.
And I'm sure it's kind of like, I come from the big city and now I'm in some type of folksy small town or what have you. So yeah, and that all the social capital is out the window too. You got to rebuild. So not fun.
Exactly. I appreciate the fact that my mom never moved me out of like the schools I was in or like my established friends groups at those ages, because I don't think I would have liked it very much either. We see him get jacked.
I started high school with in a new city.
Oh, did you?
Through did. I went to elementary and middle school with the same people, but it was bound to happen because the way Detroit is set up, you pretty much test to go into the big three, and then or move to the suburbs, and my parents moved to suburbs.
Got it.
My sister grew up with a lot of people she went to school with, but I did not.
How do you feel about that as an adult? You feel like it's all right?
I feel like it plays a role in how I feel when it comes to attachments. Like, since then I've moved multiple times, and
there is an
adaptability.
There is an adaptability that I love and appreciate about people who get moved around. Like, it's very much like you go with the flow, you figure out how you need to maneuver. So I think it's definitely like a life skill building type of thing.
And you and I, we can make a friend out of anybody. So
very true. Very true. We see Max get jacked for his Nikes, which really pissed me off. But his little sister Danny, who's 8 years old, wearing a full red lip, might I add.
Yeah, she was serious.
She was. She is adamant about enjoying herself and going out to trick or treat, as it is, of course, Halloween, Delora. They end up at Allison's house, which is impressive AF. Allison clearly comes from money.
Yes.
And they all decide to take a little field trip to the old Sanderson house, which for some reason, these people decided to have operating as a museum at some point in time. WTF.
The ignorance. If the story isn't passed along accurately, the ignorance of it all, right? And can we give a shout out to Allison's family's costumes? I was so impressed with their costumes growing up. I was like, I mean, I knew what they were going for. They were going for, the Salem witch trial time, right? With the ensemble.
Yes.
Lovely.
It was definitely very impressive. But again, I was like, oh, y'all come from money. Of course, y'all can have coordinated era specific outfits and wigs and all this stuff. Do you have a favorite Halloween costume that you remember from growing up?
We didn't celebrate Halloween, so no.
I think I remember you saying that now. I'm trying to think if
you?
I had a favorite. Maybe Catwoman. I got to be Catwoman one year. That was fun. In the Michelle Pfeiffer era, because that's still, Batman Returns still holds up as possibly my favorite Batman film. So
you said the one with Michelle Pfeiffer. I love that catsuit outfit because it's all stitched together.
Yes, you got the phenomenal whole head guard. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer was born to play Catwoman. Period.
At 1000%. Now I will say, as an adult in the work spaces, I've dressed up as a minion and ham of a ham sandwich. You know what I mean? One of those throw on costumes. So I was the ham part and David was like the cheese or something like that.
I love
and I brought it in
costumes
for my best work friend Helen. Hi Helen. Hi Jessica and Allison. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm rediscovering my love of dressing up as an adult. My next thing is I want to be some type of 70s era musician like Diana Ross, or just one of those, because I want to wear my hair really big. I want to wear the outfit, like I want to do that whole thing. So more to come on that, guys.
What's her name? It's escaping me. Like
Donna Summer.
Donna Summers.
Yeah, she's on the list.
Yeah,
one of those. And this came from my cousin. She's like, "Ooh, one year you should just like have your hair blown out really big." I'm like, yes, I'm doing that very soon. So y'all stay tuned.
You have the torso for it.
Thank you.
Everything was belly.
That's why I'm gonna do Aaliyah. Aaliyah's on my list too. Okay. Got to get them abs while I still got them. All right. So Max decides he wants to go to the old Sanderson house. Why, Delora? Because he wants to spend more time with his boo, Allison. May I just say, Danny's commentary on Max loving Allison's boobs was super cringy at my big age.
Oh my. I don't think I really paid that much attention. I've watched this movie so many times. I think it didn't really stick, It
didn't register. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, Danny, stop it.
And we're talking about the 90s. This is such a crude time." And, to your point previously about him being bullied, I was just like, was bullying ever that blatant and so gross? And I feel like that type of bullying is always highlighted in 90s films.
And it was
You know
just
what
so
I mean?
lame. It was just so lame.
Yes.
Like the jokes, the way they went about it. I was like, this, y'all don't know nothing about being a bully. Like, this
Yeah,
is so goofy.
exactly.
All right. So at the museum, Max decides, because again, he doesn't believe in any of this stuff, Delora. He decides to light the black flame candle, thinking, oh, it's all just a bunch of hocus pocus. Just read that a virgin lighting this candle would summon the Sanderson sisters. And he was so wrong about this being a bunch of BS, right? Now, were you surprised that in 300 years, Max was the first goofy ass teenager to be able to do this?
Well, if I think back to when I first watched it, of course, it didn't cross my mind. And even to this day, yeah, I'm surprised that he's the first. But I always love, that's the magic of these type of movies, right? That one time when all the stars align, this happens.
And we've
the
had
right heroes.
We've had Binks there guarding the Sanderson house as this black cat for all this time. We see him even jump on Max to try to stop him, but to no avail. Mary's ability to smell children almost got Delora, but they managed to escape with Winifred's spellbook and Thackeray Binks as that black cat in tow.
So Ashley, what's the age range for a child? Anything younger than 13? I don't know.
That's a good question, because when I was reading about this, they were saying that originally they were going to have them all be much younger, and they realized that made it scarier to have them all really young. So that's why they made them teens. So I guess maybe children is supposed to be 18 and under for the sake of Mary's powers.
Okay.
That's what I'm going. That's what I'm running with, because I'm assuming that Max and Allison are like 15, 16.
Yeah. And the fact that Danny reminded me so much of Bink's sister.
Of
like
Emily.
Yeah, it just was kind of creepy. Like they seem like they could be like the same size and everything.
And
which I'm sure was intentional.
Yeah, because they played up the relationship between Binks and Danny throughout the film, right? So my adult brain be thinking too deep on these movies though, because I wondered why Binks, if he can talk, we find out he can speak, did not talk back in the day to his family to tell them who he was, because they were like, oh, his family never knew what happened to them. Was it supposed to be the era? He just didn't think that they would understand,
be able to handle it.
Yeah.
What witchcraft is this? I don't think they would have been able to handle it at all.
We find out from Winifred that the spell that brought them back only lasts for the night. So they are in a little bit of a hurry to get back the spell book, rebrew Winnie's potion to suck the lives out of all the children of Salem and live forever. The antics of the night entailed Winifred resurrecting her unfaithful lover Billy to chase Max and Co., the sisters learning about public transportation on their way to try to round up children for slaughter, and a Halloween party hosted by a faux devil and Medusa. Now, is it strange that Gary and Penny Marshall, who are siblings, played husband and wife in this film?
They have been so integral to movies. I think it was probably mainly a joke. You know what I mean? I honestly thought Gary was the director of this. I'm sure he probably was a producer. I'm sure they both were producers on this film. So I was surprised to see that it was actually Kenny. But I actually got a laugh at it, frankly.
Well, it was funny, a funny moment, because he's dressed up as the devil and the sisters think that he really is the devil. They're like, master. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so ridiculous. It was such a ridiculous moment. So I don't think as a kid I thought anything of it. Even as an adult, I'm like, well, they didn't have any like intimate scenes or anything to make it creepy.
Yeah, they were at the phase of a marriage where the woman supposedly just nags at the guy, and the guy is hard if he had hearing or something.
She definitely booted them out the house, because again, Sarah's up here dancing with somebody else's man, being real problematic. I mean, that was good callback. That was the whole reason. And Bette Midler too. I be forgetting, man. That's the whole reason why.
Diane too. They've been all in our conversation.
Absolutely.
Look at that.
And Stockard Channing. That's the whole reason why Billy got by Winifred because Sarah was messing around with him too. And when he was like, poison you, I'm gonna sew your mouth shut. You're gone. You're deceased. So,
that is talk about a woman scorned.
Oh yeah. Winifred was not playing with y'all. And one of the most iconic scenes from the film, the Sanderson sisters follow Max, Danny, and Allison to an adult Halloween party attended by Max and Danny's parents and literally put a spell on the attendees to dance until they die with a rendition of the tune, I put a spell on you.
Yes.
And now you're gone. Or you're mine. You're mine.
Mine.
Okay.
Mine. And then eventually you say, so long, or,
Y'all know the song. Y'all know the moment.
The way she hit that note, bye bye.
I wondered as I was watching it this last time if the fact that they can cast spells with music was supposed to be akin to Lucifer because of the fact that Lucifer was the angel of music.
Yep. Look at you going deep cut. Yes, sis.
I just,
great point.
Thought about it. Would you have believed your kids if they came to you for help with this problem of resurrecting some witches?
That's a tough one, right? I like to say, of course. But if they're known to be tricksters, it might be a little bit difficult to believe. But I don't play with spells. I've said this before in podcasts. Even though I love a good supernatural moment with witches and what have you, whenever there's a spell, that mess is on mute. I don't know if this is real or not. I'm not about to get got. Sometimes the symbolisms be real. And I'm just like, not today. I'm not going to lie. I watched the new iteration of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That shit is dark. Okay?
Yeah, I tried to watch.
Ashley. Okay. David and I sat up and watched the first season and I just felt gross. I'm like, it was probably the Lord telling me you know better because the way they would say, hell, the dark one or whatever, with it was just every other phrase throughout the whole series,
because the aunts were like followers of Satan. On her 16th birthday, she has to decide whether or not she's going to give over her soul, right? I mean, that was way different than the Melissa Joan Hart Sabrina the Teenage Witch lighthearted version we enjoyed as children.
Yeah, that was the gateway drug. Maybe that's why we really should be watching.
Not the gateway drug. They said we're gonna keep it light and fluffy for now.
But like I was saying, I genuinely don't listen to some of that stuff because I'm like, I don't trust Hollywood to make sure this ain't some real Latin something or other. David thinks I'm insane, but my mom's done it and I've grown accustomed to it, and that's just my life.
To say that there are not people who really follow certain things and cast spells is just false. I mean, that is really happening out here in this world.
It really is. And I just don't, I just don't want that in my life if I can control it. That's all.
And that's why I don't do ghosts and demons, Delora. I don't need that ish coming in my house. Okay. Max and company thought that they had killed the sisters when they lured them to a kiln in the local high school and burned them alive. But as we know from any good horror movie, it takes quite a bit to really kill the bad guy. They are never done after that first
time. When they're already dead.
Technically, right? And they have magic protecting them for this 24-hour period, whatever period, until dawn. Yeah. In another moment of, I call it stupidity, and just as time was running out on the spell, Allison opens Winifred's book, sending a beacon to the sisters of their location. Binks had warned them not to open that book. The sisters end up coming to the house.
They did think they were dead, right?
They did, but it don't matter. I told you. Yeah. See, this is white people. Obedience. Stop doing the most. Stop it.
Don't check the creek, okay? You've seen that recent meme where they were like, Black folks, when they hear some noise, they stop what they're doing for like 2 minutes. If that's not real, if that's not my life,
And
I
we
don't
don't
know what it
run
is.
towards noises. We don't
sure
run
don't.
towards danger. We don't go investigate what's going on in that room. We pray. We
Yes.
hope that whatever it is leaves. And we also run in the opposite direction. If y'all don't know this, if we have any listeners who don't know this basic rule of life, if you see somebody running, you run.
Start running.
You don't ask any questions. You wait till
No.
y'all get to wherever everybody else is running to, and then you stop and say, what the fuck is going on?
You might want to ask while you're running, what's up? You know, just so
No,
I know.
I don't have no
But, yeah,
time.
no
I'm
time.
gone.
But no, it is just a rule of life. When you see people running, you run too. You just never know.
This happened to me recently in the Lenox Mall in Atlanta. Okay. There was a shooting out in the parking garage, and we were
Yes.
told that it happened
Yes.
inside the mall. So we see people running. We did
Wow.
not stop until we got up to the second floor, and then everybody stopped and we said, what the fuck is going on? Basic rule of life. Take that with y'all. That's y'all knowledge drop for today. If you don't know, now you know. Okay. The sisters come to the house and they take the book, they take Danny, and they take Binks. Okay. Sarah uses her creepy ass song yet again to lure all the kids in town to the Sanderson house. But Max and Allison, they managed to get there in time to rescue little Danny before the sisters can take her life. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. I really like that song. I was the kid who was in band or orchestra, not orchestra, symphonic band or whatever. I love a good gothic minor moment. I was like, oh, this is just eerie. And I'm like, how you play this? I was here for it.
Come, little children, I'll take thee away. I mean, she got me.
All the lullabies are, toxic AF for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker played the mess out of that part. She was dingy, but when it came time to do her, because that's one thing that I noticed now watching it is all of them had their part to play, right? You had Mary who could smell the children, you had Sarah who could lure the children, and then you had Winifred who was the brains of the operation. So Sarah played her part and she played it well.
She knew the assignment.
She did. Max destroys the potion after they save Danny, save for one vial's worth left. Winifred decides that Danny is the only kid she wants to kill because of all things. She had the audacity to call her ugly. Delora, with their lives on the line. Is that not the definition of petty?
Oh, yeah. She must be a Cancer.
In our final act of the film, Max takes the last of the potion to save little Danny, but the gang, which now includes Billy, manages to foil them right in time for the sun to rise and the sisters to return to dust. In a scene that touched me even as a kid, we see Thackeray Binks finally pass away and his spirit free to return alongside his sister, Emily. Did this get you as an adult or as a kid, this moment of reconciliation between these siblings?
Gets me every time. It's giving me real Casper vibes, starring Christina Ricci. Yes. It like that creep. It again, it's something about these movies that have a level of creepiness. I'm not gonna lie, but it's like just enough to keep you interested, And it was very heartwarming and made all the shenanigans of that night worth it.
Speaking of Casper, I'm glad you brought it up because it was on my list of possible throwbacks for us to do for Halloween. And when I tell you, it still breaks my heart that he was not able to use that last vial of whatever elixir to come back to life because they had to save Christina Ricci's dad who dies. I mean, it's devastating. And that amount of self-sacrifice on the part of, because he's still a child at the end of the day. Yes, he's a ghost, but he was still a child. It still just devastates me every time I watch that movie.
The theme that gets me for that movie is the flashback to his life and how he died. Like that was the gut wrench, And I just loved how, she became more familiar with the house. Like she found all the hidden rooms and things like that. So yeah, that actually is like, they're kind of all in the same genre for me. Like, Casper, this movie, The Addams Family, again, starring the great Angelica Houston. Again, Christina Ricci again.
I love Christina Ricci. I've been on such an Addams Family binge. I was rewatching Addams Family Values like every time it was available to watch over like the last year. It was like my quarantine
I love that
favorite. I don't know why.
Yeah, and actually the second one, I believe it's the second one, I love to watch around Thanksgiving, like what she does for
Christina Ricci was woke. Christina Ricci was woke. And I didn't even know what that meant as a child. I was like, you better tell her.
Could not respect it, right? The way it needed to be as a child. But today,
let them burn. Like, she was on some diabolical-ish. She does not put some respect on Wednesday Addams' name. One last thing I want to say about Casper, the "Can I keep you?" That line is one of my favorite movie lines of all time.
It's actually kind of creepy out of context, but yes.
Yes. I thought it was romantic. Maybe I'm crazy.
It was.
Yeah.
No, because when we got a chance to see Casper's real form, I was like, who is that?
Yes. Can I keep you? If a man said that to me, Lord Jesus. All right, let's move on. The parents, because again, they were under a spell. We see them get released as well from their night-long dance party, just none the wiser, which is so emblematic of like kids' movies of like the 90s, where kids go through all this shit and the parents are oblivious, right? Just totally oblivious to the drama and to what your kids have possibly gone through. So
I have to say though, the mom's outfit was, even as a kid, I knew who she was. I was like, oh, that's Madonna, you know, with the cone. It's so funny what you pick up as a kid and you don't really realize it until like it shows up in reference in something, in other media, right? Whether it's books, TV, movies, what have you.
Yeah, I mean, it was iconic, obviously, in I guess American culture, you know, that Madonna outfit was. It would be like
peak. It was peak Madonna, early
90s. Like that, or like the whole Virgin ensemble would have been, you know, easy call outs for Madonna costume. But what are your final thoughts on our throwback recap of Hocus Pocus?
My final thoughts. It was so well acted, Ashley. I loved the Sanderson sisters. I mean, they made the movie. That iconic red hair and those kissy lips with her lipstick and everything like that.
Yes, red hair.
Phenomenal. Your twin, Ashley. And then Kathy, I was like, oh my goodness, you know, I remember seeing her again in Sister Act. It was just, what a time to be alive. Again, peak 90s kid. We saw this movie via Blockbuster over a long weekend. It was such a good time and I watch it faithfully every year. So I'm so happy we got a chance to recap this. What are your final thoughts?
Same. I'm just looking forward to the sequel. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this story now that we are, you know, so many years removed. An article that I dropped for you and me is the fact that the Sanderson sisters seem like they're the only ones of the original cast who may be returning. Because we have Vanessa, who played Allison, saying that she hasn't been asked to come back. She hasn't been asked about it. It seems like maybe they're going to do a refresh with a new group of kids, which I understand, but I want to see the OGs included. I always want to see the OGs included. Absolutely.
The one thing I'm going to say, I forgot to mention also, Binks, his accent was awful. Like as an adult, it makes me laugh because, you know, as an adult now, we've watched so many excellent period pieces, you know what I mean? Whether even freaking watching Outlander or The Crown, what have you. He was laying it on thick, and sometimes rewatching it makes me laugh because it's like, oh no, stop. Or I can't do a British accent, but it's just, you know, not the best.
As a child actor, I honestly didn't even think about it, but you watch way more British period dramas than I do.
I sure do.
We are going to take you as for your expert word on it. All right, guys, we so hope that you enjoyed this throwback Halloween recap of the 1993 film Hocus Pocus. Make sure you get your watch in for the season and enjoy. On that note, Delora, let's move into our hidden gems of the week. Hit me with your hidden gems.
All right, Ashley, I have one hidden gem this week, and it's a podcast. It's actually one of my favorite podcasts. If you don't know, now you know. It is called Therapy for Black Girls. Oh, it is such an excellent podcast. It is not meant to substitute a real relationship with a professional. She says that all the time. But she's done some phenomenal episodes. Recapping Molly and Issa's relationship on Insecure.
Oof,
and more recently,
juicy.
That was a good episode. And Dr. Joy, that's her name, she did this episode back in August 25th specifically. It's titled How Horror Films Help Us Process Life. I probably should have talked about this with my sister. With her being such an avid horror film watcher, it's like
she didn't even know she was getting some therapy. Yeah,
exactly. But she has Dr. Lana Holmes to talk about her interest in horror films and how she actually has work around it, and it helps people with their trauma and survival. I thought that was fascinating. I've heard people have conversations about horror too, on how, like, based off what America is going through, societally, what's going through has a direct reflection in our consumption of media and things like that. So
that makes sense, because nobody was trying to watch like really sad, dark things in 2020. Nobody.
No one. No,
that's especially not political during a lot of moments.
Andal could not survive. Okay.
Veep had to end because they were like, we can't outdo these real life shenanigans.
And like I mentioned before, Mass Singer is a hit because of how ridiculous it is. It is so mindless. So I say all that to say, phenomenal episode, worth a listen. It's more of an educated conversation of horror, our lives, and as I mentioned, coping mechanisms and things like that. So this is in honor of our Halloween episode. So
way to stay on theme.
What's your hidden gem?
Yeah, I did not stay on theme this week. Sorry, guys. I have 3 this week. 2 of them, and mine really literally came from what I consumed over this past weekend. And I was deep in some Netflix. Okay, I watched season 2 of the Babysitter's Club. Me and Delora love this show because it's, again, nostalgia from our youth, right? I used to check these books out from the library, guys. I love me some Claudia from the core cast. And we are also in season 2 seeing some of the younger crew from the books being included. So it's just such sweet, family-friendly content. And I just love it for that. Because, there's so much out there that's, sexual or deep or scary or whatever.
Everything is MA, Ashley. Everything.
My second hidden gem, You, season 3. Woo! I have talked about this show. I think I talked about it a couple episodes ago. Joe Goldberg is back with a baby. Now, I cannot say that this season was the strongest or quite as satisfying for me as the first 2 seasons, but the reason why is because it felt like we were spinning our wheels just a little bit, but season 4 is already a go at Netflix, and I'm still on this ride, likely till the wheels fall off, guys. So I binged this real quick, and I'm ready for season 4. All right, my third and final hidden gem for this week. What Happened, Brittany Murphy? It's a doc on HBO Max, 2 episodes. I remember personally being shocked at Brittany Murphy's sudden and unexplained death at the time, and all the shadiness that really ensued thereafter, and conspiracy theories about her husband and her mother. Did she poison them because her husband died shortly thereafter? It was just a lot.
And you remember she was with Ashton Kutcher, and she had broken up with him and ended with this older,
Simon
man,
Monjack. I mean, it was just a whole thing at the time. So So I will say about the two episode documentary, I did learn some things, particularly regarding Simon, and kind of it seemed like he was a scheming, lying, manipulative type of person. But
And
one
she fell
note,
for it.
yeah, she fell for that okie doke. One note to the folks who produced, directed, and edited this documentary: making her movie lines ominous and part of the storytelling about her death was in very poor taste, in my opinion, and really turned me off to the tone, the overall tone of the documentary. So yes, I did learn some things, but for any future documentarians out there, I would not follow that formula. It was very off-putting. So those are my 3 hidden gems for the week, Delora. Again, guys, enjoy Halloween this weekend if you're going out, if you're getting dressed up. Cannot wait to see some people's costumes and what y'all are getting into. Enjoy, and we will see you next time.
Bye.